Hi there, welcome to Ask the Chiropractor, your source for ultimate health, healing, and chiropractic related information. I'm Dr. Adam Rodnick. We're here with our co-host, Dr. Alex Rodnick. We're out of Commerce Township, Michigan. And we're here today with our special guest, Dr. Joel Wallach, world-renowned author, lecturer, physician, Nobel Prize nominee, and it's an honor and privilege to have you here.
Thank you, thank you. Appreciate your hospitality.
So I'd like to talk with you first a little bit, Doc, about a few medical dogma, a few different myths. I would like to start about talking about salt.
Okay. Well, of course, that's one of my favorite subjects because you cannot make stomach acid without salt. Salt is the raw material for the chief cells in your stomach to make stomach acid. And when people have reflux, it's incorrect to say acid reflux. That's what doctors will teach people, is acid reflux. When you have reflux, it's actually because you don't have enough stomach acid. And as the pH rises in your stomach, because you're making less and less stomach acid as a result of a salt deficiency, you have yeast and bacteria growing in your stomach now. It's only sterile when it's very acid, like battery acid. So as the pH rises, because you don't have enough salt in your diet, you begin to grow things in there, and you get a lot of gas and pressure, which causes the reflux and heartburn and bloating and pain. And so one of the things you have to do to get rid of reflux is to not take the proton pump inhibitors, which are drugs, pharmaceuticals, that stop you from making stomach acid. Do not take them. You're going to salt your food, and of course we recommend what we call ultimate enzymes, which has stomach acid in it, as well as pepsin, the stomach enzyme that digests proteins, but only in the presence of stomach acid. You cannot digest protein without stomach acid. You cannot absorb vitamin B12 without stomach acid. You cannot absorb minerals without stomach acid, all related to salt intake. You cannot have nerve impulses without stomach acid and without salt. You cannot have, without sodium chloride, 2 essential nutrients, nerve impulses can't take place. You're very familiar with that, being a chiropractor.
That's exactly what we deal with.
You cannot have water moved around in your body without stomach acid, without sodium chloride. And so these are absolutely essential nutrients. In fact, just very recently, it's been shown that people who do follow the doctor's restrictions and do restrict salt get so many diseases, so many food allergies because they can't digest proteins. A big one coming along here is gluten intolerance. There's more and more people in their middle ages, 40, 50, 60, who develop a gluten intolerance where they were not gluten intolerant as a child because they give up salt as the doctor instructs them to do. Here in the Michigan area, back in the 1990s, 750 people died during a triple-digit heat wave that lasted for 2 weeks. 750 people died, and every one of them was on a salt-restricted diet. The doctors didn't have the good courtesy to call them up and say, hey, put a tablespoon of salt in a gallon of water and sip on this during this heat wave. And when everybody passed out from the heat stroke, the ambulances are taking them to the hospital, guess what they were given intravenously?
Saline solution.
Which is salt. Salt water, absolutely. So salt is an essential nutrient. Anybody who would tell you to restrict salt, you should flee from them as quickly as possible for your life. And just one more thought on that. When people say, well, every time I salt my food, I get edema. My legs swell up, my rings get tight, my face puffs up. And so I says, well, it must have something to do with the salt. Actually, that happens when you have low protein. So I want those people to get on a gluten-free diet, eat 6 to 10 eggs a day, get their blood protein up, and then they can salt their food with impunity, and it won't cause swelling.
I think it's amazing how you say, as far as acid reflux goes, the body has less acid, so your body naturally raises the pH. And this is one thing I tell my patients all the time, is the body has an amazing recuperative power, and all symptoms are the body trying to do the right thing at the right time. Where, modern medicine shows us that anytime there's a symptom, it's a bad thing. We want to attack the symptoms, so rather than helping the body get the correct amount of acid, we want to just knock it down.
Yes, well, you're exactly right. The medical system has failed us terribly because they attack the symptoms instead of getting to the root cause of the disease and eliminating it. Pharmaceuticals, there's not a single pharmaceutical, either over-the-counter prescription, that cures the disease other than antibiotics. Think about it. 450,000 prescription and over-the-counter drugs, with the exception of antibiotics, there's not a single one of them that cures the disease. They all are related to treating symptoms.
A very common problem with that is when you're treating the symptoms, this innate power that your body has to heal itself ends up doing the opposite of what the drug is designed to do. For example, if you're exposed to pollen that you have an allergic reaction to, and these allergies cause you to sneeze. Well, that's because your body produces a chemical called histamine. Now, if you take a pharmaceutical called antihistamine, it stops you from producing histamine. So what your body does in response is makes more histamine. So then you end up getting in this loop where it's actually counterproductive.
You're exactly right. And of course, the side effects of the drugs directly, the indirect side effects of the drugs, and the prescription mistakes, where the guy writing the prescription makes a mistake, the pharmacist is having a bad hair day, and he or she makes a mistake in fulfilling a prescription, and the person themselves, if they never win a card at bingo in church, they make a mistake themselves, and so between the doctor, the pharmacist, and the patient, it's very bad.
And so let's talk one more little bit about the misconception of the salt.
Yes.
People think that salt causes heart disease.
Salt does not cause high blood pressure, nor does it cause heart disease. Again, this misconception is related to the fact that people do get edema if they have low blood protein. The first question I ask when people say, every time I use salt, I swell up, I just can't use salt. I'll say, well, how many eggs do you eat? Well, I can't eat eggs because of my cholesterol. Well, salt does not cause heart disease or high blood pressure. Cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease or high blood pressure. In fact, there's not a single disease that's caused by elevated blood cholesterol. If you can find me one, I'll give you $1 million. Small bills, tax-free, in any offshore account you want. There's not a single disease that's caused by elevated blood cholesterol and triglycerides. Elevated blood cholesterol and triglycerides are actually indicators that you have other problems. When you have diabetes, low thyroid, your cholesterol goes up. When you have deficiencies of many different nutrients, your cholesterol goes up. But cholesterol doesn't cause any disease. So spending billions and billions of dollars per year, or per month, or per day, whatever it is a lot of money to lower cholesterol. It hasn't extended human life at all. In fact, since we've come out with these statin drugs to lower cholesterol, we've gone from 17th in the world in longevity down to 60th in a 20-year period.
It's a big difference.
Big difference. Now, if lowering cholesterol is correct, we spend more money and time and energy lowering cholesterol from statin drugs and Lipitor, things like that, as well as a calorie and a sugar and a salt and a cholesterol-restricted diet, yet we're dying younger and younger and younger.
Let's talk a little bit about the Mighty 90, and could you explain to our audience what it is that you call the Mighty 90?
Okay, well, a lot of our people, because it's such a miracle, we're calling it the Almighty 90 now. We're very, very excited about that. The Mighty 90 or the Almighty 90 is actually all the known essential nutrients. There's 60 minerals. These minerals all cause diseases when we don't get them. We cannot make them, we must consume them in our food. Plants only need 3, we need 60. So if you're eating a pretty good slice of organically grown, multigrain bread, baked with love, blessed by the pastor in the church, you're 57 short. Okay, you're going to get a lot of diseases. Calcium deficiency alone will result in 147 different diseases. You can go to 25 different health practitioners and specialists for just calcium deficiency. Then we need 16 vitamins. These 16 vitamins we cannot make, but plants can make them. Plants make vitamins. We also need amino acids. Plants and animals can make amino acids. We can make amino acids, but not the essential ones. There's 12 essential amino acids that we cannot make, but are essential parts of our proteins and our ability to make enzymes and things that go on in our bodies. So they're essential because we can't make them. And then there are fatty acids, which are part of our hormone environment in our body. They're part of our cell walls. They're part of our immune system. And so all of these 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, and 3 essential fatty acids, these are originally referred to as the Mighty 90. We've now sort of upgraded that to the Almighty 90.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, and most people don't realize that there are that many minerals and that many vitamins and
Yes.
nutrients that we don't make. Most people think you can get it all from the 4 food groups.
Well, just to look at people like physicians who can afford to eat well, and physicians, medical doctors, should have the knowledge of how to eat well, because they tell people, just eat well, you're going to get everything you need. If you're not sure, eat a little variety, that'll cover it. That seems kind of loosey-goosey to me, right? It's too simplistic to say just eat variety, you're going to get everything you need. And when you look at billionaires, physicians live to be 56, billionaires live to be 66. There's never been a billionaire that lived to be 100, following the doctor's advice. So the doctors get it all wrong. They actually should be put in jail for a Class A felony anytime they say the first 2 letters of the word nutrition. If they start to say nutrition, they should be cuffed and put into jail. because they always give us bad advice. Alzheimer's disease is a physician-caused disease because of incorrect information about cholesterol. Erectile dysfunction and menopause are two physician-caused diseases because of misinformation about cholesterol. Things like, we talked about in earlier sessions, things like MS, multiple sclerosis, Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, Parkinson's disease. These are all physician-caused disease. Vitamin D3 deficiency or physician-caused disease. Actually, you could say any deficiency, the almighty 90, is a physician-caused disease because they say just eat well, you're going to get everything you need, which is an absolute lie.
And would you say that we're getting less nutrition from our food than we used to even 50 years ago because has the soil changed at all?
Well, the soil has changed, and in many cases, for instance, the 60 essential minerals never occurred there. Nutritional minerals do not occur in a uniform blanket around the crust of the earth. This is a sort of, not even a misconception because nobody thinks about it unless you're a farmer, right? The average city person doesn't think about it. We think of the waving grains, waving waves of amber waves of grain, however it goes, yeah. And we think of it as being very uniform, and we just can look over the hills of Kansas and Nebraska and see all these amber waves of grain, right? Well, underneath that, in the soil, you have what looks like finger painting because the minerals occur in veins like chocolate and chocolate ripple ice cream. So one row in a field might have 5 minerals in it. 5 rows over, you got 3. 5 rows over, you got 11. 5 rows over, you got 0. 5 rows over, you got 20. And so it depends on what row in the field your food came from, how many minerals you have.
We don't get to pick.
We don't get to pick because the bread looks like the bread, right? Where in animals, we put everything necessary for that animal, particularly minerals, in their food. And so we've leveled the playing field. No matter where they live, they're going to get perfect nutrition. In human beings, it's actually misinformation to say, just eat well, get everything you need from your food, and be sure to eat local food. Well, if you're only eating from a local farmer's market and you're only getting 3 minerals, terrible things happen. In fact, we're working with small communities, which is going to be in the news here pretty quick. We're working with small communities that live entirely off the land. They never go into cities to eat from grocery stores. And they have specific diseases. For instance, they have a very high rate of babies who are born with congenital deafness, which is a deficiency of the trace mineral manganese. Manganese deficiency early in pregnancy causes a failure to develop, or an aplasia, a lack of presence of the 3 little bones that you need to hear. And so these babies, when they're born, they have to have implants put in their skulls so they can hear, or hearing aids, or both. Well, all the mother had to do is supplement with the almighty 90, which includes the manganese. We'll never have another baby born with congenital deafness. Also, muscular dystrophy. We've eliminated muscular dystrophy in the animal industry because muscle is meat. Meat is muscle. We can't afford muscular dystrophy in the animal industry because it looks bad, it's tough, and so you couldn't sell meat that's been damaged by muscular dystrophy. So we got rid of it in 2 weeks. We've known for 60 years the cause, prevention, and cure of muscular dystrophy. In humans, they still profess incorrectly, criminally, that muscular dystrophy is genetic, when it's simple nutritional deficiency disease during pregnancy. Well, in these communities that live off the land, if they're fortunate enough to have plenty of this mineral in their food, babies aren't born with muscular dystrophy. But where they don't have those minerals in their food, they give these minerals to their animals to avoid muscular dystrophy in the animals because they couldn't sell the meat, right?
Right.
Well, in humans, they eat off the land, but they don't supplement themselves, so the babies have a very high rate of muscular dystrophy. So we've been working in there for a year now, and usually within 3 months, we're able to totally reverse their muscular dystrophy. We get people who've been in a wheelchair for 20 years with muscular dystrophy get out and walk without a cane even.
That is amazing.
It's amazing stuff.
One thing I'll hear a lot of my patients will say is, well, they get their nutrition because they eat enriched food. They have enriched flour, enriched bread, and people are thrown off by the word and the term enriched. They think that means all the nutrition is put into it.
Okay, well, when you have enriched white bread, back in the days when they were discovering a new B vitamin almost every day, back in the early part of the 20th century, they were very hyper aware of that. And so they were aware of when people would have vitamin B3 deficiency, niacin deficiency, people would have deficiencies of thiamine, B1, B12, B2, B5, B6. Like almost every day there's a new B vitamin being discovered. And so they realized when they bleached the flour to make bread, to make white bread, that these B vitamins were gone because they weren't using the brand where the B vitamins appeared. Well, so they would enrich the bread with those B vitamins. Now they put maybe iron, some bread puts iron in there. And so when you eat those types of enriched bread, you know you have the B vitamins, you have iron. But you don't have the other 83, okay? And so when you eat whole grains, and you make this bread with love, you make your own, you grind your own whole grains into flour, you might get the B vitamins, but you have no earthly idea how many minerals in there because you don't know what field that was grown
You
in.
don't know where it's from.
Yep.
Right.
And so
exactly.
the way to use our human brain is to logically supplement with all the known essential nutrients, the almighty 90. We've come up with a supplement program to do that so that it doesn't matter if you're a vegetarian, you're a meat eater, it doesn't matter if you're male or female, it doesn't matter if you're still an embryo, it doesn't matter if you're 1 day old or 1 year old, 10 years old or 20 years old or 100 years old. Everybody needs these 90 essential nutrients, the almighty 90. So we must supplement to level the playing field. We'll eliminate all birth defects. We'll eliminate 900 different diseases in humans as we have done in animals. And we'll be able to spend that money on more useful things. We'll be able to cut the cost of healthcare by 80% if we get these people on these programs.
That's a huge percent.
80%.
That is a huge percentage. So let's talk a little bit about athletes and what we can do nutritionally with athletes and how athletes, through the amount of work that they do, are more nutritionally deficient than the average person.
Very perceptive, Dr. Rodney, exactly right. We actually came out with a CD called Dead Athletes Don't Lie because athletes don't live as long as the average couch potato, professional athletes.
And you would think they would because
think
they
would.
exercise so much, they do so much hard work.
Exactly. Well, when you exercise, you sweat. And sweat is not water. Sweat is a soup that contains all the almighty 90, right? And so if you're just rehydrating with water, oops, we have a problem here because the almighty 90 has been left out. The fluid part of what they've lost is there, right? The water, the greatest solvent on earth, the universal solvent is water. We need it. That's why we love 360. It's a universal solvent, very healthy solvent. We cannot absorb nutrients without water in our system. We cannot move things around. We can't have blood pressure, proper blood pressure without fluid. It moves the good stuff into our cells, moves the bad stuff out. But with that said, you cannot replace the almighty 90 you're sweating out when you're exercising or doing physical work by drinking water alone. So we've come up with all kinds of programs for athletes we call Rebound. It has 100 nutrients in it, including 88 of the almighty 90. We have to keep the omega-3 separate and then add them right at the last minute in the program. But with the exception of 3 black gentlemen from the old Negro Baseball League days back in the 1920s, there's never been a professional athlete ever lived to be 100. The average lifespan of professional athletes in America, when you take all sports combined, is 62. The average lifespan of a couch potato is 75.
Big difference there,
Big
especially
difference.
with finely tuned bodies that are
Exactly.
spending time.
And what you see
Working
here, and what is gone into in great detail in this CD, Dead Athletes Don't Lie, is when athletes sweat, there's 2 minerals that will kill them suddenly when they're deficient in. Selenium, a deficiency will result in cardiomyopathy heart disease. And just recently there was a young basketball player just outside of Holland, Michigan, who got the winning 2 points. The 2 teams were tied 55-55. They had to go prophetically into a sudden death playoff because they had to be a winner because the winner of that game was supposed to go in the finals and either play for the championship of the state of Michigan. Well, to make a long story short, 3 minutes or 3 seconds after he gets that winning 2 points, he drops dead of a cardiomyopathy heart attack, which is a selenium deficiency. We've actually known this for over 60 years. And again, my wife and I did over 1,200 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 who died of this cardiomyopathy heart disease, a selenium deficiency. And it's just really criminal. It's not tragic, it's not a shame, it's criminal that people in America die of this disease. And we've known actually for 60 years the cause of it is a mineral deficiency, just as we know that iron deficiency causes anemia, selenium deficiency causes cardiomyopathy heart disease. And any team physician who has a patient die of cardiomyopathy heart disease and they're not making sure they're supplementing with the almighty 90, especially selenium, I believe should be put in jail for a Class A felony of reckless endangerment. Because they're saying, work out, we're going to do doubles this week. It's in August, we're going to do doubles, get out there and sweat. And they're not giving them the almighty 90. It's really a criminal act.
Are there any foods that are high in selenium that people can add to their diets?
Liver is the only food that you can guarantee has selenium in it, because this is where animals and human beings store selenium. And if you try and get a modern kid today to eat liver 3 times a week, he'll kill you with an ice pick, burn your house down, and run away. And so the only way to do it really is to supplement. People just do not eat liver like they used to in our granddaddy's day.
Let's talk about another condition is aortic aneurysms.
Yes. Well, aortic aneurysms, of course, we also have a lot of athletes die from that. It causes 500,000 people to die each year. It's actually caused by a deficiency of the mineral copper. Copper is required for many, many things, including cosmetic thing, hair color. But externally, it tells you have a copper deficiency when you have gray, white, or silver hair. It also is required for production and maintenance of health of elastic fibers in your body. When you have a copper deficiency, you get a breakdown of elastic fibers in your skin. You'll see people with really horrendous levels of skin wrinkles and sagging skin. This has to do with the copper deficiency. You get a breakdown of the elastic fibers in your blood vessels. Spider veins, varicose veins, and hemorrhoids. And hemorrhoids are just varicose veins in a funny place,
area,
right? Different area. Also, you get a breakdown of the elastic fibers in your arteries. You get a ruptured aneurysm in your brain, coronary arteries, and your aorta. And it's again criminal because we eliminated arterial aneurysm, particularly aortic aneurysms in turkeys in 1947. Very simple disease. And since 1947, we haven't had a turkey die from a ruptured aortic aneurysm, where it used to kill 50% of them when they put them on concrete, took them off the pasture and put them onto concrete, so that every turkey would be ready for Thanksgiving and be the right size and right shape and everything. And that was the only way they could control it, was to put them on concrete and give them turkey food. Well, in the beginning, they gave them chicken food. Well, a turkey grows much bigger and much faster than a chick. They didn't have enough copper in there. And 50% of the turkeys, when they first put them on concrete, in a feedlot, so to speak, were dying of ruptured aortic aneurysm. They learned very quickly by analyzing liver for selenium, because they knew about that, but they learned it was a copper deficiency. Once they started adding more copper to their little alfalfa pellets, stopped immediately, and yet today Americans are dying of ruptured aneurysms because medical doctors say, now don't waste your time and money supplementing, just take vitamins, minerals, or taking vitamins, minerals, but just eat well, eat a little variety, you're going to get everything you need. And so I hold doctors, medical doctors, responsible for these unnecessary deaths.
So you're saying for our public that they can know how to prevent the aortic aneurysms by looking at if they already have current symptoms. So if they have silver, white, or gray hair, if they have the crow's feet around their eyes, they have the varicose veins, the hemorrhoids, those are great signs that they need to
move quickly,
supplement with copper
quickly
before they have an aortic aneurysm.
They probably already have one. It just hasn't gotten to the point where it's going to rupture, and so it's there. And so I would not wait. When you hear this message and you look yourself in the mirror, you say, oh my gosh, you got white hair and crow's feet, and I do have spider veins on the inside of my knee or my ankle. Gosh, I do have varicose veins. I do have hemorrhoids. Well, you might not wake up tomorrow morning. You might die of an aneurysm in your sleep. You might die of an aneurysm when you're mowing the lawn. So you need to jump on this very quickly. This is not something you can wait and go see a medical doctor and say, is there a test for copper levels? I wouldn't wait. I'd get on the almighty 90.
Gotcha. And a lot of these things, a lot of these degenerative diseases, heart diseases, cancers, even things like ruptured aneurysm, they don't just happen overnight. It took years to get to the point. It
took years, but although on some occasions when you're sweating vigorously, sweating out whatever you might get in your food, athletes are going to die quicker. There are many cases where athletes are 6, 8, 9, 10, 12, 19 years old dying of ruptured aortic aneurysms because they're sweating out their nutrients, they're not getting it in their diet. So whatever it might have snuck through, just maybe 1/1000th of 1% of what you're supposed to have, you sweat it out. And under the pressure of physical activity, you're going to die of an aneurysm.
And I know that you've worked with a lot of high-class athletes, as far as Olympians, even professional athletes here in the United States.
Yes. Well, I deal with athletes. Some of them have as many as 3 gold medals. Delicia Jones, she's actually originally from Michigan. She now lives in LA, but she is going for her 4th gold medal in the Olympics. She's 34 years old. She's been using her products for like 12 years, and she outplays all the 20-year-olds. They can't, what are you doing? Well, she's taking the almighty 90 plus our sports drink, we call Rebound. Theo Ratliff, we spoke about earlier, his career was over about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago now. He had bone-to-bone arthritis at only age 28. He played for the Pistons. He had bone-to-bone arthritis in both knees. The cartilage popped off his hip. His bones were so fragile, he caught a pass during a game and it fractured his wrist. And the orthopedic surgeons at the Atlanta Hawks, who he was playing for at that time, said, his career's over. He can't take the physical activity of professional ball. And so a mutual friend introduced us. I got him on the almighty 90, got him the rebound, and in 90 days rebuilt him. And he's made $140 million in contracts now because of rebuilding using the almighty 90.
It's a big difference between early retirement and $140 million, huh?
Exactly. You ever hear of Evander Holyfield, the boxer?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, of course, he had a heart attack during a championship game, a cardiomyopathy heart attack, and we rebuilt his heart. He was able to go back and pass the physicals for all these boxing commissions. Can you imagine the possibility of somebody having a life-threatening heart attack and being able then to go back and pass the physicals for boxing commissions, be able to fight professionally at the heavyweight? It's not going to happen. So it only happened because of the nutritional program, the Almighty 90.
Gotcha. That's amazing. So we have a few minutes left, and we would like to get some final thoughts from you, Doc. One thing I'd like to discuss with you is the relationship, the link between healthy spine and healthy nervous system, as what we do with through chiropractic care. And
we're on the same page there. And the disc between the vertebrae, I love the disc between the vertebrae because you deal with that all the time, peripheral neuropathies, the neck, and the sciatica, burning numbness in the feet. And so the Almighty 90 can actually, I can legally say, support and promote healthy maintenance and repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, disc between the vertebrae, and it pushes the vertebrae farther apart, gets the pressure off of those spinal nerves, and peripheral neuropathies will go away. Even people with atrial fibrillation, and the doctors do all their exams in their heart, the cardiologists, they say, well, we can't find anything wrong with your heart. We're going to do an ablation. We're going to kill a portion of your heart so it stops with atrial fibrillation. What a dumb thing to do. You're supposed to spend your whole life keeping your heart healthy and to let some insane cardiologist kill your heart so it'll stop wiggling, right? All you have to do is make the disc between T1, 2, and 3 thicker, pushes the vertebrae apart, takes the pressure off those spinal nerves, and your heart's happy again. Atrial fibrillation goes away. And you get osteoporosis of all of the vertebrae, and the cervical vertebrae, thoracic vertebrae, lumbar vertebrae, and people will shrink. You know this, they shrink.
Absolutely, we see this all the time.
I see people shrink 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches. I've seen them shrink. And invariably they say, I haven't shrunk. We'll measure them and they say, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I've shrunk 3 inches. They thought they hadn't shrunk. And this is because the discs are shrinking, getting the vertebrae closer together, smashing those spinal nerves, causing the symptoms. So we really love the work you guys do as chiropractors because you can help these people enormously, both by giving them symptomatic relief, but also rebuilding them. So we just love you guys and all the great work you do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
It's been excellent.
Appreciate it.
So
okay. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So again, in final thought, in closing, we've had Dr. Wallach here. We've talked about the Almighty 90 and how important it is to supplement nutritionally, and a lot of medical dogma. We've talked about a lot of the misconceptions that people have in our country and in the world about health, wellness, and longevity. So I'm Dr. Adam Rodnick with our co-host Dr. Alex Rodnick, and this has been Ask the Chiropractor. Remember that God gave you the gift of life, and what you do with that gift is your gift back to God. We'll see you next time on Ask the Chiropractor.